1300 hours Pakistan Standard Time. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Humayun Zeb Abbasi. First, the headlines. Addressing the 76th session of the UN General Assembly via video link, Prime Minister has emphasized the collective efforts to fight the emerging threat of terrorism in the form of Islamophobia and strengthen the current government in Afghanistan. Foreign Minister at a meeting with UN Secretary General New York presented him a dossier containing details of the gross, systematic and widespread human rights violations by India in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan and Belgium have agreed to remain engaged on the situation in Afghanistan and work together for promoting bilateral relations. Leaders of the United States, Japan, Australia and India have vowed to pursue a free and open Indo-Pacific region. Now the news in detail. Prime Minister Imran Khan, while emphasizing the collectively dealing with the issue of Islamophobia, has regretted the linking of terrorism with Islam by some quarters. Addressing the 76th session of the UN General Assembly via video link, he said such thing has increased the tendency of right-wing, xenophobic and violent nationalists, extremists and terrorist groups to target Muslims. Imran Khan called upon the UN Secretary General to commence a global dialogue on countering the rise of Islamophobia. He said our political effort must continue to promote interfaith harmony. The Prime Minister also called upon the international community to strengthen and stabilize the current government in Afghanistan for the sake of Afghan people.
This is a critical time for Afghanistan. You cannot waste time. Help is needed there. Humanitarian assistance has to be given there immediately. And the Secretary General of the United Nations has taken bold steps. I urge you to mobilize the international community.
Alluding to Indian atrocities and oppression in the illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the Prime Minister said India is engaged in efforts to change the demographic structure of the occupied territory and transform it from a Muslim majority into a Muslim minority area, rejecting the world's approach to violations of human rights, which lacks even handedness. He said such doable standards are the most glaring in case of India, where RSS BJP regime is being allowed to get away with human rights abuses with complete impunity. Reaffirming Pakistan's desire for peace, he stressed that sustainable peace in South Asia is contingent upon resolution of the Jammu and Kashmir dispute in accordance with the relevant UN Security Council resolutions and the wishes of the Kashmiri people. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has held wide-ranging talks with United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres that focused on the decades-old Kashmir dispute and the evolving situation in Afghanistan. The Foreign Minister presented a dossier to UN Secretary General containing details of the gross, systematic and widespread human rights violations in Indian illegally occupied and Jammu and Kashmir. As regards Afghanistan, the Foreign Minister said the UN Secretary General were of the view that urgent and unconditional humanitarian assistance as well as financial support should be provided to the Afghan people to prevent a humanitarian disaster or an economic collapse. Separately, Shah Mahmood Qureshi also held a meeting with President UN General Assembly Abdullah Shahid and discussed the urgent need to effectively address the impacts of climate change and environmental degradation. Pakistan and Belgium have agreed to remain engaged on the situation in Afghanistan and work together for promoting bilateral relations. The understanding came at a meeting between Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi and Belgian Deputy Prime Minister Ms. Sophie Wilmans. Shah Mahmood Qureshi said Pakistan values Belgium as an important partner. He stressed the need to further enhancing the political, investment and trade relations between the two countries. The Belgian Deputy Prime Minister appreciated Pakistan's support in the evaluation of the Belgian nationals from Afghanistan. Leaders of the United States, Japan, Australia and India have vowed to pursue a free and open Indo-Pacific region undaunted by coercion. A joint statement issued after a 2-hour meeting at the White House said, "We stand for the rule of law, freedom of navigation, overflight, peaceful resolution of disputes, democratic values, and territorial integrity of states." The US President Joe Biden, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga, and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the meeting of the Quad Group. In Germany, polling for the elections of lower house of the federal parliament, the Bundestag, will be held tomorrow. Some 60.4 million Germans over the age of 18 are eligible to cast the vote to elect 598 members parliament. And that is the end of the news. For more news and analyses, you can always log on to our website, radio.gov.pk. You can also watch live video streaming for our bulletins on the link facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News.